renewable energy. More importantly, wind. People have been using the power of wind since sailboats, but the modern turbine can be traced way back to more than 3,000 years ago in rural areas, like farms and shit. And then cheap fossil fuel engines came into play and beat windmills into obsoleteness. Fast forward to the late 19th century, windmills are in use. By now, people have realized that, hey, they can make energy with big fans. And by people, I mean this guy, and also sort of this guy, who is Danish. And although windmills weren't a popular player, they were still on the team, although they mostly just hung around and charged batteries until it was cut when the energy grid was put into play. So windmills ran off to make their own league, and the top players were... But nobody cared about windmills until 1973, when oil jacked up their prices and big money came crawling back to good old-fashioned wind energy. Then, 7 years later, California said screw it to the big windmills. Size doesn't matter. Quantity will do just fine, California said, peppering in a bunch of much smaller windmills. People decided, hey, why not take these into the ocean or off the mainland so we can have more room, and started planting turbines in Vindeby, 11 of them. And throughout the 90s, they then continued planting offshore wind energy farms, and windmills were popular. People liked them. They only caused low CO2 emissions and had environmental benefits. Yay! Knock knock. What's that? Opportunity or the government? It's the government with opportunities. They are going to enact policy that will hopefully dictate the increased use of these wind turbines. In fact, the European Union declares that they hope by the year 2020, at least 20% of all energy will be coming from renewable sources, like wind. But how does it work? It's time for science. Wind is motion. Motion is kinetic energy, and all energy can be captured. This is done with turbines. When they spin, a shaft leading from the hub of the rotor to a generator turns that rotational energy into electricity. Economic benefits. With wind power, there's no more exposure to fuel price volatility. In fact, this one benefit alone is such an asset that it justifies a larger share of wind energy. 75% of all costs for a wind turbine is upfront costs. This means these are capital intensive, whereas 75% of costs for fossil fuel power plants are put towards the fuel. Maintenance also factors into cost for a turbine, but this cost is rather minimal. Other costs include insurance, land rentals, and overheads. Market regulation and wind price makes putting a set price on wind energy hard. See, people get more money from not wind energy, and they don't want renewable sources to dominate because they are just too gosh darn beneficial. So big money and big companies rally for creating market regulations on renewable energy, and probably this works because they fund political campaigns. But it's the grid system. Wind energy needs to be transferred to electrical supply installations, of which there are two options: a limited supply system operating in isolation with weak grids, an unlimited system with a connection to a rigid grid. Rigid grid systems are, again, unlimited, infinite active and reactive currents, unlimited capacity, constant voltage, the works. Unfortunately, we don't like things getting in our way, so wind turbines are usually installed in secluded locations with weak grid connections made using dead-end feeders. Mutual influence must also be taken into account because, in large energy converters, the wind power can reach grid transfer power. Looking out for grid safety is another consideration when converting to grid systems. Solution? Power converters. They can control and convert the electric energy by adjusting the generator frequency and voltage to the grid. This is especially true in a variable speed system. Other advantages are... But how does energy conversion work? It's time for Science Part 2. This is the rectifier. The rectifier converts single-phase or three-phase alternating current systems into direct current systems. These things are inverters. They do a similar thing, but they convert systems from direct to alternating. What are these current conversions anyway, you might ask? Well, stop asking. This is my show, and I'm going to get to it eventually. Eventually being right now. Direct current conversion is when a direct current with a given voltage and polarity is converted to a different voltage with the possibility of a reversed polarity. Alternating current conversion is when an alternating current of a set voltage, frequency, and phase is converted to a different voltage and frequency with the possibility of a phase change. Wind power is still a change the world is going through, and first world countries are building the bandwagon and urging those third world countries to hop on. But they aren't quite there yet. The cheaper fossil fuels helps them with industrialization of their countries. But there's a lot to look forward to. Bye!